Well, hello there. This is Yakkin with Nick, and I am Nick Hazelton, and we're going to talk about expectations today. My grandfather gave me the suggestion to do this. He said, let me read his comment so we have some context. Beforehand, he gave me another suggestion for a show topic, but he says, another talk might be on expectations. What is realistic for an 18-year-old? Are you trying to meet your own expectations or the expectations of others? You're getting a lot of advice from me, your parents, other adults in your network, and probably from your peers. I think all of the adults would admit our goals at 18 were ill-defined if they existed at all. And he goes on to give me some other feedback, but that's from my grandfather, Jeff Hazelton. I think it's an interesting thing to talk about because we brought up obligations in a couple previous shows. The one we did with Brian Sovereign on hedonism, we talked a lot about obligations and our issues with them. And I'm not a big fan of obligations, but I think I responded in a comment on that post in the Yakkin with Nick feedback group on Facebook. Get in there. And I think I said that, well, there are actually some obligations that I think I have. And one of those being, I have an obligation to take care of these animals that I have under my control and under my care, right? Because without me, in this world at least, right, in this situation that they're in, they really rely on me. If it wasn't for me, they'd probably die. They might be able to make it living in the wild in the woods here. It's possible. Yaks could probably do it. They'd probably get hunted down. But it's possible. I guess they could live without me. But it's definitely a better life. I'm part of being a farmer. I think is taking, these animals, which would be before we domesticated them, would have been a wild animal. We're taking them and giving them a better life than what they would have had. Just like we have a better life than as I don't know if I want to say domesticated human beings, but as civilized human beings, right? It's a better life than being the hunter-gatherer. Actually, I'm not entirely sure of that. That's not something I really believe. I don't know. But I think you understand what I mean. That there's an obligation there that because I've taken these animals, or I'm participating in the system of agriculture, right? I can't just treat these animals like they're pieces of property. I guess I could, but it's not socially acceptable and it's not in line with my personal ethics. I don't know. It's just, I appreciate where these animals come from and what they're doing for me, and I want to give them the best life possible. There's an emotional reason there. And of course there's marketing reasons there, and there's, perhaps a taste factor, but it's mostly emotional. There's an obligation that I have that I've set for myself. And at the same time, it's an expectation. So what is the difference between an expectation and an obligation? I think an obligation is more set in stone. Like, I have to do this. While an expectation is more of, well, it would be really nice if this happened, and I'd really like to do this, or I'd really like you to do this, or, we're expecting it to happen, but it's kind of like a soft obligation, if you will. I don't know how else really to describe this. I'm kind of bad at defining some of these words that I use, but I think that's where I think that's the definition I'm really going for. Like, to expect is to look forward to, regard as likely to happen, anticipate the occurrence or the coming of, while an obligation, let me use my computer here. An obligation is something by which a person is bound or obliged to do certain things. So it's more of a have to rather than, hey, this would be really great. Does that make sense? I think it does. So where do these expectations come from? Because we all have them in our life. We all have expectations that we set for ourselves or that other people set for us. They come from, just about anybody. Like, yeah, there are many examples. And I made show notes for this, and I realized, wow, I can come up with many examples. I'm going to try to avoid giving a whole lot of examples because I think they come out as I describe what I want to say in this presentation. But I do want to give some expectations, I guess, of what kind of expectations I've set for myself. And a big one is to make money. I want to reach my goals, right? I want to do what's in my best self-interest. I want to be forgiving. I want to do all these different things, right? These are things that, I guess with the framework, and some of these are not really spelled out, right? Actually, most of them aren't. I would say that this is kind of new. I've just started thinking about this, but I suppose there's been some thought on it in my thought processes on life, I guess. I don't know. They're expectations that I haven't really thought about a lot, though. There are many. But I guess what I want to do if I were going to set an expectation would be to look at what's, where do I want to go? What are my goals? What's in my best self-interest? What do I want to have happen? And that's what I would expect myself to do. I'm expecting me to do the best I can, to actually put some effort in. I guess that's something that I kind of hold. And this may not be in line with something like my kind of compassionate angle with nonviolent communication, or NBC, compassionate communication with yourself. I'm not sure how an expectation fits into that. I don't like obligations because it's like I have to, and if you don't do it, then you are a bad person. Those are things I like to avoid. So I don't like to think of that when it's an expectation. I don't like to think of, well, if this doesn't happen, it's a negative. It's just something I wouldn't prefer, right? It's something that I would like to do, and that I expect myself to try, I guess. That's really, I don't know. This is hard. This is hard to think about. But let me give a more concrete example that isn't so hard to see. I think that there are expectations that you get from other people, like your family, friends, customers, audience, right? You have all these expectations that come from you. You expect things from me, right? When you come to this show, maybe you don't. Maybe you're just open to see, whoa, what is Nick going to do today? I don't know. But you probably expect me to be at least a little bit entertaining. Or maybe you expect me not to be. No, but that's a different kind of expectation, I think. This kind of expectation is kind of it's more of a soft obligation, like I said. And another kind of expectation would be like, you just kind of expect this to happen. It's likely to happen. Does that, I feel like that doesn't make sense, but I'm going to go with it and hope you understand it. But a big part, like family, right? I have expectations to do chores, to live up to what I said I would do, right? There's certain behaviors that I'm expected to fall in line with. They don't want me to swear or be mean to my sister, live up to a certain reputation. Customers are expecting a quality interaction from me and a quality product. Audience is expecting entertainment, educational content, whatever it is. Friends, they want attention. They want me to be a happy person. And these are not necessarily spelled out. There may not be something that they tell you that they expect. Like my parents would tell me they expect me to do my chores or to live up to a certain standard, right, of a reputation. But my customers aren't really asking me, hey, Nick, I want a quality interaction. Will you give that to me? That's just kind of an inherent thing that you can kind of just see in that relationship, that's part of it, right? That's an expectation that needs to be upheld. Otherwise, I lose my customer, right? So it's not really a spelled out expectation. But if it weren't to happen, there would be negative consequences from this person. And same thing with friends. They want attention. I don't want to... I try to avoid saying that, oh, you just want attention, because attention is a very important human need, right? Human desire, value, whatever you want to call it. People really like attention, and there's a negative, what is the word? I don't remember, but there's kind of an inherited negative feeling towards seeking attention, right? It's like, oh, you're being annoying, you're just seeking attention, whatever it is, it's still important. But anyway, that's a side note. I think that people want to have your attention. If you're your friend, like if I'm ignoring you, then right, it's like, well, what? I don't want to be friends with you. So you kind of expect some interaction, some attention from me, and I do from you, right? Those are some things that I think those are pretty good examples. And now I'm going to try and stay away from examples. So those are examples of expectations that you would have for yourself, or people have for others, or you have for others. But now I'm want to look at, why care? Why should we have these expectations? Should we even have them at all? And I think it's good to meet expectations that other people have, right? That they make people like you. Like I would like to meet the expectations of my customers, to provide a quality interaction and provide a quality product. And I'd like to give attention to my friends. I'd like to do chores for my parents and live up to a certain standard, but only because it's in my self-interest to do so. If you're setting an unrealistic expectation that I don't like or that I don't want to follow, I'm not going to do it, because why? Why would I do that? Just to appease you? No, this is my life. I'm going to live it the way I want to. And I would advise other people to live that way as well, because sometimes others' expectations, and even ourselves, even our own expectations, can be harmful and not in line with our own goals. And I think that's what you want to look for, is don't do things based off expectations necessarily, right? Do what's in your best self-interest. Don't use this as a principle, live up to expectations or set expectations. If you're going to follow anybody's expectations, make sure that you are benefiting from that, from trying to meet that expectation. Don't make it your sole goal to live up to them, or even not to live up to them. Don't resist expectations or resist actions just because somebody has an expectation for you to do that, right? I don't think it's something that really, I think it's, well, how do I want to say this? I think expectations are something that we should take into account. I want to do this thing as part of a goal, right? That's something you expect to reach these goals. There can be some help in that, but sometimes it definitely can be harmful. And here are a couple examples. I'll give a couple examples, but let me also explain why I think that's true. Now I just kind of lost myself. I was thinking about, well, is that what I want to say? I think that it really can be harmful because there's an emotional attachment to these expectations a lot of times. And that's really where it gets bad, right? Like I said earlier, with an obligation, there's a negative feeling to not meeting these expectations. That's where you really have to be careful, because you can be easily manipulated by people who you really care about, right? If you have an emotional attachment to meeting somebody else's expectations, you're going to have a bad time if you don't. And I don't think that if you want to be resilient and you want to be independent, then that's not something you want to allow affect your life. The negative emotions that come with not meeting an expectation. I think that makes sense. Yes. I'm trying not to say that. There's a few idiosyncrasies that I'm sure you caught on to if you listen to this show, but try not to say things like, does that make sense? Because you can't answer me. Something I can think in my head, but I try to keep filling dead air. That's why I often keep talking like that, if that makes sense. Sorry. Now it's going to be like a joke for me. And so I'm going to keep wanting to do it just so I can make myself laugh. Anyway, back to expectations. Some examples of harmful expectations. I think I'm trying to think of like a concrete example. I didn't write this down. I didn't write this example down. What is a harmful expectation? Shoot. But I think I want to give an example. So let me keep thinking and let me keep talking while I think. I think that a good one is, well, yeah, let's talk about friends. So, I try not to make this like personal. I don't like to talk about people in real situations, because this is public and anybody can listen to this. They can listen to this. But let's say this. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use this example. Your friend expects you to spend a certain amount of time or have a certain amount of rich experiences, whatever you want to call it, spend time with them and have fun. They expect you to do that. But that may not necessarily be in line with your goals. If it's a weeknight, then, hey, I got to do other things. I can't stay up late and do things, right? This is not in line with my goals. So are you going to fall into that social expectation? Because there's an emotion there. You want to be, it's kind of a tribal thing. If you trace back our history as human beings, or that's something that we all value, is social interaction and being in favor with your people, your tribe. You want the people around you to like you, and you don't want to disappoint them by not living up to these expectations, right? This specific one, spending time with them. sometimes that can go too far. Like I said, if you staying up late, doing whatever, that's not going to be in line with your goals if your goals are to get up on time in the morning and follow a certain bedtime routine or a morning routine, because that's going to affect it. So that is a case where it's negative, and it's not like there are obvious, very harmful expectations. Like here's another one: going to college. Now your parents expect you to go to college, but you it's not in line with your goals. You want to start a business. You want to be a yak farmer. You want to be, whatever it is. You want to be a mechanic. I don't know. It could be anything. But your parents expect you to go to college because that's, the society that they grew up in, and they were taught that this is what you do to be successful in life. You go to college, get a degree so you can get a nice paying job. Unfortunately, that's not true anymore. Very few. Well, I shouldn't say that. It'll happen for plenty of people. If you go to school and get a good degree, you'll get a decent paying job. But anyway, there's a social expectation there, and slogging through a 4-year degree, when it's something that you don't want to do, that's very harmful to you. And I would say don't do that. Instead, follow what your goals are, because that's most important. Expectations are not really that important, because we can do without certain people in our lives. We can do without expectations. You can set boundaries with people and say, hey, I'm not going to follow these expectations because I live my life for me. Whatever it is, there are ways to do this, but expectations should not be the sole thing that you are making decisions on. That's all I have for you today. That's all I have for you today, guys, folks. That's all my thoughts on expectations. If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns, or you want to talk to me about this, I'd love to hear from you. My voice is cracking. I think I'm losing my voice. I'm not getting sick. It's just like ate something. Sometimes I think it's milk. I think if I drink milk, my throat doesn't. I don't know how to describe it. I guess more phlegmy. I don't know. I think I should be drinking more water before I do shows or something. I don't know. But yeah, hop in the Facebook group. Yakkin with Nick Yakkin with Nick feedback group on Facebook. Jump in there. Let me know what you think. And there are people making noise outside of my room while I record. Probably can't hear it, and I don't need to acknowledge it. Hop in that group. Let me know what you think. Comment on the Facebook, or the Facebook post, the post of this show, or even if you're on Facebook, comment on. I actually really like to hear from you guys on the main link. So a lot of people in the group probably get notifications says, "Oh, Nick posted this." But if you see my actual post that I just put out for everybody, not into the group, please like and comment on that. Unless you're gonna give really harsh criticism, keep that in the feedback group. I don't want public to see that. Just kidding. You do whatever you want, but if you do see that, I like to have interaction on that post because it helps spread the awareness of that media, right? That's the way the Facebook's algorithms work to show other people. So yeah, that would be really appreciated. If you would like to donate, you can. All right, let me say this also. You can email me at yakkinwithnick@gmail.com if you'd like your comments to be private. That's totally fine. You can also comment on Patreon. I just realized that one of the patrons, Matt, is doing that. Appreciate the comments there, Matt. I really do. Keep that up. I love it. But yeah, if you'd like to donate, you can also go there. Patreon.com/justYakkin. JUSTYAKKIN. Patreon, patreon.com/JUSTYAKKIN. Patreon.com/justYakkin. Wow. What else is there? Write a review on iTunes if you can. Google Play, I'd really appreciate it. That's all things that help this show. And I want to say that I really appreciate you guys as listeners. It's really cool to be able to do something like this and get to have my thoughts heard by many people. So I appreciate this experience, and I enjoy doing it. So I will talk to you again next week. Bye.